Hello ladies and gentlemen, Steven here from the channel Redolessence, and thank you so much for tuning in. It really means a lot to me. And in today's episode, I'm going to be giving you a closer look at my first impressions on the newest release by the company Creed. This one is called Viking, so stay tuned. Now this fragrance comes out this year in 2017. It's scheduled to be released next month in September. I'm not sure who composed this, if it was the father Olivier Creed or the son Erwin Creed. I know Aventus, which came out back in 2010, was composed by both of them. But this one, brand new release, it was long anticipated. People were waiting for it. They want to know, what does it smell like? And there have already been a lot of reviews posted online. As you can see, this is a pre-sale sample that was sent to a lot of reviewers by the company. So thank you very much, Creed Boutique, for hooking us up with the sample. It's not a lot to go off of, but it definitely gives you an idea of what the fragrance smells like, and you can get a few good wearings out of it. Now, this isn't a true first impression. I did my first impression yesterday when I was at my friend Carlos's house, so I'm going to link that video down below if you're interested. But I've been wearing it from yesterday up until today, and I have a better idea of how it performs, how it unfolds on the skin, so I feel like I can make a bit more of an informed video on it. So it comes with this really cool message in a bottle, kind of going along with the whole Viking theme. And when you open it up, you unroll the paper and it has a link that you at home can follow if you want to get yourself a free sample. And it's creedboutique.com/experience Viking. So I'm going to leave a link to that down below so you can check it out yourself as well. And I just think it's a pretty cool presentation. So this is something that I'm actually going to save. I'm going to hang on to it. I think it's awesome. And I like that Creed acknowledges that reviewers out there are talking about their products. They love their stuff. And I myself am a huge fan of Aventus. I wore it on my wedding night. You guys know that whole story. So here we have Creed Viking. And when you go on the website, if you click comparatives, it will compare it to fragrances like Spice and Wood and Green Irish Tweed. Now, I think this fragrance is in a family of its own. I don't necessarily think it smells like any other Creed fragrance in their lineup, which is such a great thing. I wasn't looking for a flanker. I wasn't looking for something redundant or rehashed. I was looking for something novel, something new, something that would be intriguing. And, you know, it's one of those fragrances where you might smell it and you're like, oh, this is Viking. And you might not fall in love with it at first, or you might feel like, you know, it's good, but I don't know if I'm going to love it. I think the reception for this is going to be very similar to that of Aventus, where a lot of people were unsure of it at first, and then when they saw how well it worked as a fragrance, how it lasted, how a lot of people thought it didn't last, but they had the olfactory fatigue. So I think this one is going to do really well. Now, what do I get from the smell? It opens up with a salty nuance about it, and immediately I was reminded of Millésime Imperial. Now, of course, it doesn't smell like Millésime Imperial, although it does have some fruity notes in there. They're very well disguised. You can't really pick up what fruit note is in there necessarily, but you do get that salty overtone, which provides a freshness to the composition, quite in the same way that it's done in Millésime Imperial. Now, it's salty, borderline metallic. It has that staticky undertone about it where it's kind of granulated and you're not sure what you're getting from it initially, but it's pleasant and it makes you keep going back to your hand for more. As it starts to dry down, it becomes a little rosy. Now, that could be because of the Bulgarian rose note, or it can also be because of the pink pepper note, because pink peppercorn has a rosy odor profile. So it has that rosiness, and I think that's what makes it smell red, and that's what provides warmth to the composition. So when you smell the salt, initially, your mind is going to trigger a light bulb that says, oh, this is an aquatic. It's not an aquatic. Now, I do think it has a lot of that signature Creed Ambergris DNA, or whatever note is in there, the Guerlainade of the Creed house, as it were. And that is perhaps the only thing unifying this scent with the rest of the Creed lineup. Now, I like this scent for a reason that it kind of deviates from other Creed scents, and I'll explain that right now. With Creed scents, they usually have this reputation of smelling so natural and realistic, to the extent that if you smell Aventus, you can smell the juiciness of the pineapple. If you smell Green Irish Tweed, you can smell the freshness of the citrus and the lemon verbena. If you smell something like Spice and Wood, you get the woods, you get the spices. These are very true to form. When you smell this fragrance, it leaves you scratching your head a little bit. Like, what's in here? What am I smelling? Where the pieces of the puzzle aren't really coming together quite right away. So in that sense, it's abstract in the same way that Silver Mountain water is abstract, where people smell it and they're like, it smells metallic, it smells inky, it smells clean, but you can't really pinpoint it to an individual note. That's what this fragrance is going to do to people. Now, of course, when you look at the note breakdown and it has the Calabrian bergamot, the Sicilian lemon, a lot of that is going to become a lot more clear to people, like, oh, that's perhaps what I'm getting, even though I don't get a whole lot of citrus from this fragrance. But when it dries down to something really nice, something that sits very comfortably on the skin, something that I think would get people really positive reception when you wear it, something that is addicting in a degree and it keeps you wanting to go back and smell more of it. It's not something groundbreaking or earth-shattering in the sense that it's not something so different it's never been done before. It's different for a fragrance in the Creed lineup, but I think the scent is going to do really, really well. I think it's going to be really successful, and I love everything about it. They even changed the cap on the presentation, so instead of it having sharper edges, it's kind of like rounded out on the sides. I think it's really cool. I like what Creed is doing. I love that they acknowledged a lot of other reviewers in the community, and I'm really excited for this fragrance. Now, it is close to $500 for 100 milliliters, so that might be a little bit too pricey for some people. If money burns a hole in your pocket, you might go out there and buy it. For some people who are a bit more frugal or conservative, they might just hold out until they find it in discounters. But what I can say is that this fragrance is really nice. It's really nice. It's really well done, and I think it's a solid addition to the Creed lineup. I think it's something different. It smells unlike any other fragrance that is currently being offered by the House of Creed, and for that reason, I say bravo, and I think they did a wonderful job. So thank you all for tuning in. That was my quick assessment of this fragrance. Oh, let's talk about longevity. I got about 5 to 6 hours. So for a lot of people, they might say, well, that's subpar for an eau de parfum. And I get it, but this, when you're looking at the compositional nature, it isn't dense with woodsy notes like Aventus is, or with the vanilla and the amber and the resins, or spice and wood with the woods and everything. So I think there are a lot more volatile notes in this one. So I think that that's one thing that I might, for lack of a better word, struggle with. But I think it is going to be a really good scent. Longevity was great. This is something that I would wear dressed up. Definitely dress down if you have the money for it, and I think the presentation is gorgeous. So I hope to acquire a bottle soon, as soon as it comes out, and then I'm going to give my full review. But for the time being, I hope you took something of value from this pseudo first impression. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please remember to subscribe for future videos, and once again, a very special thank you to the Creed Boutique for providing us reviewers with these samples. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you in the next episode. Take care.